Welcome, 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 family and friends. This quote that you see on your screen, the soul of a believer remains suspended by his debt until it is paid. Debt doesn't just burden our financial lives, but it does take a toll on us spiritually as well. So when we get overwhelmed by financial obligations, we do struggle to focus on worshiping in our faith, along with feeling peace in our hearts, staying healthy, dedicating time with our family and our also community as well. So this short webinar is going to be about protecting what and who matters most, using final expense planning to gain peace of mind by taking care of our responsibilities and obligations. And this is brought to you guys by Wealth Builders Insurance Agency. Thank you in advance for you guys' time. My name is Chaka Ali, and I've been working with clients over the last 24 years in the financial, mortgage, and insurance spaces. We're surviving three major financial turns in the market and still realizing that there's a lot of work to do financially with the literacy out there in our community. So, Wealth Builders does focus on serving our communities, helping to increase financial security and building generational wealth, which is available to us all. So we do this by increasing financial literacy through articles, webinars, workshops, volunteering, and just having day-to-day conversations talking with folks. So as independent consultants, we work for our clients and not the carriers. And the carriers that we do choose to work with are the top in their categories, offering the most in flexibility, underwriting, and also the products that they do provide, giving the best available options to you guys that's available in the market. Now, this allows us to best customize a solution for you according to your needs, goals, and personal qualifications. Now, we offer health options through Obamacare, ACA Care, provide financial solutions that are aimed to protect and grow assets, along with retirement solutions for families and small businesses up to 50 employees. We do provide no-cost consultations to review current plans in order to provide those customized solutions, making sure we put you in the best spot possible, focusing on life, health, and wealth. So before we get rolling, do you guys have a will in place? Or when was the last time that you reviewed and updated your current will? Now, as life does change and go on, we want to make sure that we keep that updated as much as possible because this is the foundation and cornerstone of a proper estate planning. And sadly, unfortunately, that only 32% of Americans as of last year have a will actually in place. So that's a lot of people that don't have it. But having a will does streamline the court process, which usually allows a family to avoid having to go through probate. And it does give you a few more major benefits as well by having a will in place. First and most important, I believe, is that if you are having any minor children under the age of 18, that you can name your guardian and avoid foster care in the system itself. Also, it does minimize family disputes by having your wishes in place. Make your last wishes for your burial. And also, if you have multiple religions in your family, then you'll want to have a will in place so that way there's no confusion on the burial or the wishes that you do want to have for your final arrangements. It does eliminate confusion, arguments, and keeps families whole. It does allow you to distribute your assets, belongings, and leaving that legacy that we are all looking to do and working towards. So before we get started, make sure you guys have written this down, www.freewill.com, so that way you guys can take care of that. There is no charge nor cost. It just takes you roughly about 20 minutes, follow their steps and prompts, and you'll have a will completed legal in about 20 to 25 minutes. All right. So the goal with this short webinar is threefold. Educate families on the funeral industry and prevent funeral fraud, protecting loved ones from emotionally overspending so they can pay and pass on more tax-free monies that'll help build that generational wealth, and then breaking down four different solutions that's available in the market that you probably heard of: term insurance, accidental death insurance, and also work employee insurance, along with the final expense plans that we'll talk about as well. So let's get rolling and give you a better understanding so we can get you gain that true peace of mind that we want to have by the end of this conversation for you. So death is one thing that we cannot predict, prevent, evade, or avoid. So what that means is it's an inevitable situation. Do you know when, where, or how you're going to die? Honestly, I don't want to know. So That's not something that I want to be planning for in regards to knowing exactly when, but I do want to make sure that I'm planning today so that way my family is taken care of tomorrow, not leaving any loved ones in a bad spot. Because waiting too long, you might not even be able to be qualified or have options because life insurance isn't offered for everybody. If you get above 85 years old or your health gets out of shape or out of whack, no good for you. So how would your family and loved ones know and feel knowing that you could have taken care of these things and responsibilities, but decided not to and left it for them to scramble at the last minute? That's a burden that we don't want to have them face. So that's why we take care of these and have these conversations ahead. Although it's not easy, it's definitely something that we got to have. So here's a daunting question a lot of us don't think about until the last minute. If you died today, what would your family and loved ones be doing tomorrow? It's a tough question. Most likely, they'll be trying to figure out how to plan your funeral, scheduling or setting up your military honors, working on trying to figure out the cremation, where to go for that, celebration of life events, organizing family travel, coming in town, leaving town, where they're going to stay, how much is going to cost for the hotel, how to pay for medical bills, credit cards, bank account resolutions if you're not on it. All those things are going to be now something that they're going to have to take care of. On top of that, the funeral homes will want their money right away and immediately. So I still haven't heard of one funeral home that offers a layaway plan. I don't think they're going to do that. I don't know how to get their money with the layaway plan. And the majority of these funeral homes need to have those services paid for before they will provide those services. They will store the body, of course, for you, but that still does need to be paid. But in those scenarios where they're just holding that body, that's when you'll see the funeral cremations take place weeks or even months after the passing, unfortunately. Why does it take weeks or months to have a funeral or cremation? Months, you say? Well, the major difference and the biggest reason for it is because the national funeral average cost has gone up and risen to between $8,000 to $13,000. That's quite a bit. And that is a big problem for most people. And according to USA Today for last year, over 100 million Americans are either underinsured or have no insurance whatsoever. That's a big problem. So, have you provided for your final expenses and other obligations, or do you have funds saved up and have access to it in the next 72 hours should something happen? A lot of people don't have the kind of cash sitting around and ready for just a funeral. They might have it for a car, savings, paying bills, the mortgage, the rent, but just for a specific funeral or final expenses, not so much. So you want to make sure you cover your plans and keep your coverages in place because if a death happens in your family, you don't want to leave them scrambling. As we mentioned, we don't want to have them scrambling at the last minute because this is a cost and an expense. And without a plan, your loved ones are going to be paying out of pocket or finding another way to come up with these before they can get anything done for you. So a lot of families need to wait weeks before they have these services done because these costs are going to be there. That non-declinable basic service is a bare minimum just to get the body from the hospital to the funeral home. That's not including all the other services that you can easily see up there. And the next slide is going to be it's always a shock when I share it, just for the simple fact a lot of people don't know you can buy your own casket. You can have it shipped to the funeral home, and they must use it and accept it by federal law. What that means for you is that go to the website Best Price Caskets, which is what I'm sharing with you guys here, Walmart.com, Sam's Club. These all are places that you can buy caskets at wholesale. So these three caskets that you do see up here from Best Price Caskets is about $1,500 that they have up there. They sell these same caskets directly to the funeral homes. If you go directly to the funeral home and wait there to get it through your funeral package or services, you're going to easily be seeing around 5,000 to about 11,000 on just these type of same things that you can be spending $1,500 on. And this is where funeral directors get to go to work. because they make upwards of about 30% commission or more from the funeral packages that they offer and that they upcharge on. Yeah, that's why you'll see $50 a for just your sign-in sheet of who attended the funeral. $50 for that book was the lowest price that I've seen in some of the GPLs that's out there. GPLs are a general price list, which is what we just seen on the previous screen. So worst story that that was shared with me yet. It was a family that they had a cremation done, but they were charged for the hearse, pallbearers, casket, and the driver for cremation. Not needed, right? Not at all. They wanted the best for their loved ones and their family, and they got emotionally taken advantage of because there was no plan in place. So they let the funeral director set up everything and then just paid them the fee at the end. When they were able to calm down, think about things, and review what it was charged, they realized they got overcharged for that stuff. You can't go back and ask for a refund, unfortunately. But this is why we had these conversations so we can eliminate the scrupulous acts that are out there, and also the funeral and cemeteries are very, very not regulated as we would like to believe they should be, right? And that's just part one. That's at the funeral home. The cemetery is part two. Outside of the burial plot, cemetery costs are not included into into that pricing that we just mentioned. Unless it's a full service, meaning that they have a funeral home, cemetery, and crematorium attached and all as one. All right. So the most common additional charges outside of the plot is going to be the grave opening and closing. All right. This is one of the things that people don't think about. I got to pay for somebody to dig the dirt out and put it back in there. Yes. And sometimes you might need a permit for that as well, depending on the state and location. Opening and closing can be anywhere from about 600 to about 35 or $4,000 in itself. Next one, grave liner, burial vaults. This can be anywhere from about $200 for a liner up to about $12,000 for an actual vault. Headstone and the installation of it. Headstones are in the installation usually a combined option. Sometimes it is separated. That's when you're going to start seeing those places that are nickel and dime you to death, death again. But the headstone and installation combination usually between around 450 upwards to about 6,000. This can be you can get a customized engraved stone bench. You can have a statue of angels. You can have or just a bare minimum marker as you see on the screen. All those are just basic markers for the gravesite showing that there's a placeholder and a place there. All right. Cemetery headstones and all that, they start getting up the more work you have on there. The next one is going to be the perpetual care fees, the maintenance of the grave site, lawn cutting, things like that. And that's usually about 5 to 15% of your total burial plot cost. All right. Larger the funeral homes, larger the cemetery, the larger the cost, larger the upcharges. And unfortunately, as I mentioned, this industry is not regulated like most. So these charges and costs are going to continue to rise, obviously, exponentially because we don't have a way to cap them yet. Hopefully, we'll be able to adjust that down the road. But at the moment, there's no caps on these things. And as I'll show you down the road, the costs have continued to rise and rise and rise. So this may be another big surprise for you guys is that if you're getting some governmental benefits, are thinking that the government is going to help provide you care or something for free or bury you because that's what you think they should be doing. Unfortunately, that is not the case and sadly mistaken. Social Security hasn't changed in over 60 years, and they're only giving $255 to your spouse or to any minor children that you may have, and they still need to go through a qualification process in applying for it. It's not just a given, so that's unfortunate. And us as veterans, this was a shock to myself. I'm not sure if it's to you, but as a non-active veteran, if I should pass away, I'll get only $796. Of course, I'll get the salute, the flag, the spot at the National Veteran Cemetery if I can apply and get in and there's space available. Now, mind you, that 796 for us vets is only if we pass away in the hospital VA hospital at that time. If we do not pass away in a VA hospital at that time, instead of 796, we'll only get 300 bucks. They'll provide $796 to a burial if you're not in a national cemetery, and that will be on top of the 300, which would be $1,196. So whopping $1,200 as a veteran, non-active passing away is our benefit. Maxed out, and as you can see, this hasn't changed last time I printed this off. So just as a fair warning, government is not taking care of this for us. Now, this quote is from one of the underwriters at one of the insurance providers. Everything you saved and accumulated in your lifetime can be gone, and yet there are still funeral expenses left to be paid by your loved ones because this is a responsibility. As we've just uncovered, the government is not taking care of it. Our family will be held responsible for these expenses if we do not handle them and plan accordingly. So we cannot live spending everything and not properly prepare for the inevitable. So because if something does happen along the way, it'll wipe us out. And with deaths suddenly occurring, 20% of them, there's no warning, no heads up. You don't got a chance to make a final phone call, text a friend, email anybody, or make that last FaceTime phone call letting them know you love them. So, how was your last conversations with your loved ones this morning before you left the house? Or your last conversation with anyone? How did you leave it? You want to be careful with this because we never know. We can walk out the door and fall flat on our face and be done. You know, God forbid we have all have long lives left, but remaining lives that we do have, we can get long, prolonged illnesses and sicknesses that'll also wipe out our savings due to medicines, test procedures, exams, or lack thereof healthcare because we're no longer working. Medicare doesn't cover everything as a full out policy does, unfortunately. So there's going to be coverages that you're going to need to pay for yourself. These are burdens that people are not usually thinking about because we all think that we're going to be healthy as oxes until the last day. All right. So this is just sharing with you guys some of the common major deaths here for us for the last years or so. Heart disease and cancers are the biggest ones, and these are long-term scenarios to where if you have heart disease, cancers, you can have some pretty expensive medical bills, pretty expensive medicines, and treatments to stay alive. Not only will you have long-term medicine and care that you'll need to have for that, but you'll also be possibly concerned with nursing homes, assisted living facilities, nurses that need to come to your home and visit with you, or even just day-to-day living activities that may come about because you had a stroke. You're no longer able to use all of your bodily functions and things like that. So not having plans in place ahead of time can put us in a real bad situation down the road. So people think about insurance and be so costly, so expensive. Not having it is really where the cost and expense comes from. Okay. So as a real quick recap for you guys, the funeral cremation costs, these costs have risen over 227% over the last 30 years. And that's up. Now we're up to 8,000 of 13,000 on a range. So this has gone up from about a year and a half ago when this was last updated. So 7,360, we're now up to around 8,300 as I showed you guys previously on the slide. You look at some of the stuff now. If you look at the service car and the van, that's 150. That is per car. And yes, they will charge you for that for cremation, as you see over there to the right-hand side. For the hearse, you're not supposed to be charged that, but it was charged in that scenario that I shared with you guys. So they're not supposed to be, but because there's no regulation and stipulations, they'll charge you anything under the sun. As long as you don't catch it, they'll keep charging and get a percentage and keep things moving. So can you imagine what the cost will be in the next 30 years? Because no one's planning on dying tomorrow, right? No, not at all. So the next 30 years, because of inflation, prices are going to continue to go up and up. All right. So if you or your loved one died today, do you or them have access to $10,000 in just 24 hours? Or specifically $5,000 that are being used for cremation or even janaza services? I'm not sure if you do or not. However, the last survey that was done for last year through Bankrate, nearly 6 out of 10 adults are uncomfortable with their current level of savings. 27% of adults have no emergency savings whatsoever. And then more than one in three, 36% of adults have more credit card debt than they have money in savings for the last 2 years. And then more than half, 57% of Americans working full time, part time, feel that they are behind in retirement savings. So let me go through that again. If you passed away today, do you have access to $10,000 that your family can use for your final expenses? 6 out of 10 don't have enough savings. 27% don't have any savings at all. 36% have more credit card debt than they have in savings. And then more than 57% don't have enough or not prepared enough for retirement. So, what are your choices, guys? What are they? Here's some of them: rely on friends and family, deplete your assets and savings, borrow money or use more credit cards, GoFundMe's, charity drives, fish fries. All of these things are things as options. Or you can take the time today to review your plans and make sure your obligations are taken care of for tomorrow. So, do you really want to leave your loved ones needing to borrow money or go into debt for your funeral services? Do you want to use 20% of the funds they receive to pay for GoFundMe commission? GoFundMe charges 20% off top. How many fish fries, hot dog specials, car washes, pie or cake sales do you want your family having to host and needing for your services? Worst case net, worst case yet, I have heard this as well, is taking up a collection at the funeral. If it needs to be done, it needs to be done. But those are worst case scenarios of not being prepared. Now we have a choice to take care of this responsibility in advance and not leaving a financial burden with our loved ones. So, some of the options that we have to do that, first one is going to be term insurance, which is one of the widest known ones out there. And I'm sure you guys seen stuff in the mail, come across on TV, to where it's coming from Globe Life, AARP, Prime America, Gerber, things like that, to where they are offering you a really small entry fee. 9.95 is usually what you'll see, and they're saying that everyone can get guaranteed coverage. Yeah, yep. What they're not telling you is that you're offering the term insurance. Term insurance is going to go only until 30, unless you get obviously a short term, which is usually 3 or 5, introductory, 3 to 5 years introductory, so they can get you in the door very cheap and get you $100,000, 15, $20. Once that 10-year, 3-year, 5-year time is over with, that 15, $20 is now 150 to $200 for that same amount, because now you're older, your health may have changed, and for that same amount you got years ago, it doesn't work like that. As you get older, cost of insurance goes up naturally. Every year it gets higher. With your health, you may or may not even qualify for it any longer. But if you only have a term policy, when that term is over with, you need to requalify. You need to move forward. Otherwise, you have no more savings. You have no more benefits. It does. Term insurance has no cash value. It expires at the end of your term. Price does increase each and every time, but mind you, it does have a place. So if you need to cover your mortgage, there's options. You need to provide for your kids' education while you're still working and they're still minors. These are term options that are great for it. So every solution has its purpose, but there's not a one size fits all, and there is different, different solutions for each and every one of our goals and family situations. So I customize everything directly on your particular goals, and we line it up on what's affordable and qualifiable as well. But this is your idea of what term insurance does. They say term insurance usually only pays out roughly less than 2% because people usually cancel it or they end up converting it into a whole policy instead. Next one, AD&D insurance, accidental death and dismemberment. This is one of the ones that misconception of having insurance. I've had a few clients that had $250,000 and they swore they were good until we reviewed the policy together and understood that it was an A&D policy and it did not give them the full protections that they needed. Major reason for it is if you look under how it works, it provides a payout only if the death or injury is caused by an accident, and everything has to come from the accident. So your death and injury must be from that accident. For example, if you have a car accident and your leg is it needs to be amputated. Say you get an amputation from that car accident and you're a month later, you have this amputation. Say it starts getting affected. Now you're 90 days in and just realize that your leg is completely infected. There's no chance of being able to take care of it, and it needs to be cut off after 92 days. Because it's an accidental death and dismemberment policy, yes, it came from that accident, but because it's over 90 days, your policy is invalid, is null and void. It has to be from the accident within usually 90 days is the longest time period that they have for the residual effect. Now, that's why that is usually an add-on to a traditional policy for additional coverage, not a standalone by itself policy. This is usually an add-on to someone that is a high-risk job, a, uh, a cell phone tower technician, a window cleaner for high rises, things like that. It's a specific need, specific purpose, but it does serve a purpose. Next one is work insurance. Everyone's got work insurance. However, everyone's got it because it's not the fullest or best option available. The most important thing about it is because it is through work, it is a type of term insurance. You are at an at-will employee, means that you are not guaranteed to come to work tomorrow and have a job, meaning that your insurance is be through that job, which is a term and temporary insurance through your time with that employer. You're no longer there, you no longer have insurance. Life insurance is not convertible because you leave an employer like health insurance, completely different. Life insurance does not carry with you unless they offer you a retirement package. But again, that's a retirement package, completely different because most people aren't staying at one company 15, 20 years to get a retirement package. So having your standalone insurance is key because it'll go wherever you are, a whole life policy, and it'll be permanent for you. As you can see up here, work insurance, if you have over $50,000 of work insurance, fully taxed as regular income. Let me say that a little bit louder and a little bit clearer. If you have over $50,000 of work insurance, it is taxed as regular federal income tax. Defeats the entire purpose of having life insurance. Life insurance is 100% tax free if you get the right policy. Through your job, it's cheap, it's free, it's low cost. They'll give you one or two times the amount of your annual salary. If you got a high salary, it goes a little higher. I do recommend getting it because it is free, obviously, or very low cost. So you get that because you're only spending a little small amount, but still get your additional true coverage. Work policies can have some stipulations and clauses in there to where you may need to be at work or on the job in order for it to pay out. You may need to be at the job for a certain amount of time, or all these little nuances that most people don't take the time to read their policies and find out how it really does help them. So take the time, review your policies, and find out exactly what you got so we can fill the gap and make sure you're covered long term. All right. Last and fourth one that we talked about, we're going to go over. What is burial insurance? Burial insurance is a specific alternative for our conversation. Burial insurance, aka final expense insurance, funeral plans, peace of mind policies. These plans are are ideal for our conversation. These plans are flexible and paid directly to your loved ones, 100% tax free, avoiding probate, and also providing a fast payout so you can have it in time to pay for a funeral. Usually some of the carriers we have are between 48 and 72 hours on approved claims to pay you out so you can take care of your family and your loved ones. This is a whole life permanent coverage. They offer once that it is approved, you are locked and in the insurability is there for life. As long as you don't cancel the policy, you're locked in with that insurability, meaning that no matter how your health may change, no matter how many more years you're here on earth, your benefits and payments will not change. So once you get it, you're good. Your amount doesn't go up or down unless you change it, and your payment doesn't change unless you change it. All right. Once you have it, we cannot cancel it on you. It is up to you to cancel it. It builds cash value that can be used as supplemental income. There are no medical exams, no blood work, no physicals, and coverages are from kids at 30 days of age all the way up to big kids, 85 years of age as well. So that's the range of making sure you can get you a policy, but above 85, 86. Once you hit 86, there are no more options available as of today. No carrier goes above beyond 85 years old, and some limit it down to maybe policies start seeing effect at 55 in some places. So please, please, please review your stuff and make sure you got your things in line so that way you can make sure your family's covered and protected as they need to be. Now, we do offer instant approvals, giving you guys day one coverage and options for majority of all health concerns as well. So let me know what the situation is, and we'll line up something that's right for you, making sure your family's protected as they need to. Because as you can see, final expenses can be used for anything since it's paid to your loved ones. The funeral, medical bills, debts, mortgage, are just making sure that they can have the time to grieve and take the time off that's needed. All right. So thank you guys again for your time. My name is again is Chaka, and you can find more information and all of the solutions that we offer at wealthbuilders-insurance.com. Under the Contact Us tab, you'll be able to find and schedule a time on our calendar for no cost consultation. Now, feel free to reach out to us at 980-304-1500. Feel free to use the QR code up there on the screen as well that you do see. I pray this was of some benefit for you and to your loved ones. Please let us know what we can do and how we can do it for you, and we'll make sure that we can do it all for you. So, any type of current and active life insurance is a final way of telling your loved ones, I've got you. Make sure you make that last statement and declaration of love to them by taking care of your obligations and your responsibilities. Again, thank you for your time. My name is Chaka, your independent financial consultant with Wealth Builders Insurance Agency. We are here to increase your financial security, build generational wealth through financial literacy, and customized solutions. Let us know how we can help, and I appreciate you again. Have a good one.